The unexpected bond the war had lasted too long. Every planet in the outer rim burned. Smoke rose into the skies. Ships both human and alien lay broken across dead space. Among them floated a small escape pod, spinning slowly near the rings. Of a forgotten gas giant inside that pod, a young human named Jack Harrow opened his eyes. His head hurt. His suit was torn. But he was alive. The emergency light blinked red. Oxygen was low. Jack groaned and looked around. Next to him lay a tall, armored figure, an alien warrior, badly injured. Deep purple skin, silver scales on his face, and black armor marked with strange symbols. Blood thick and dark leaked from his side. Jack blinked. "What the hell are you?" The alien stirred. His eyes opened, glowing faint gold. He tried to speak but only coughed. Then he passed out. Jack didn't have time to panic. He checked the pod system. No signal, no fuel, no help coming. Only one thing worked, the medical kit. He looked back. At the alien, most humans would leave it to die. Enemy or not, Jack couldn't do that. He pulled off the alien's armor and used the spray foam to seal the bleeding. The alien's breathing grew slow but steady. "Don't die on me, big guy," Jack muttered. "I'm stuck here too." 2 days passed. Jack did everything he could to keep them alive. He filtered air. He split the food rations. He even tried to fix the distress signal. The alien finally woke up on the 3rd day. "You saved me," the alien said in a low voice, struggling. Jack turned around, surprised. "You speak English?" "I learned during the First War." "Name's Tharkson, of Zarnak." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Zarnak? You guys tried to wipe us out 10 years ago." Tharkson nodded weakly. "And we lost. I didn't expect kindness." "Not from a human," Jack shrugged. "Guess you got lucky." There was silence for a moment, then Tharkson chuckled. It was a deep, rumbling sound. "You are strange. You're not the first to say that." From that moment, something changed. The two began talking more. Tharkson shared stories of battles, lost worlds, and a Zarnak empire that once ruled hundreds of systems. Jack listened. In return, he told tales of Earth, of music, fried food, and working as a ship mechanic. Their friendship grew slowly, but it grew real. On the 5th day, Tharkson stood up. He was still weak, but strong enough to move. He walked to a hidden panel in the escape pod and pressed a code. The wall hissed open, revealing a hidden chamber. "What is that?" Jack asked. Tharkson didn't answer right away. Inside were glowing orbs, old armor, and a small, strange device shaped like a ring made of light. "This is my legacy," Tharkson said quietly. "I was not just a soldier. I was a prince, the last true heir to Zarnak's royal bloodline." Jack's eyes widened. "Wait, what?" "My people betrayed me," Tharkson said. "They feared peace. I chose exile. Now, I have no family left." Jack stared at him, unsure of what to say. Tar single quotes XEN, picked up the light ring and turned to Jack. "In our culture, to pass one's legacy, one must choose someone worthy. I choose you." "Me? Why?" Jack stepped back. "I'm no king. You saved my life. You didn't have to. You shared food. You treated me as a being, not a monster. That means more than blood." Tharkson pressed the ring to Jack's chest. It glowed briefly, scanning his body. Then it disappeared into thin air. Vanished. Jack looked down. "What the hell did it do?" "It marked you," Tharkson said. "You are now registered in the Zarnak Royal Matrix. If my world receives your signal, they will come. And what then? They may kneel, or they may kill you." Jack stared at him, stunned. "Thanks for the warning." That night, Jack sat in silence. Stars outside twinkled like eyes. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But one thing was clear. He was no longer just a mechanic. He had made a friend, and unknowingly, He had become something far more dangerous, the secret chamber, the cold metal of the pod was silent until the deep hum returned. Jack sat up straight. Lights on the console blinked green. Somehow the power was back. The emergency beacon had finally reactivated. Finally. Jack grinned, but Tharkson didn't look happy. He stood quietly, staring at the small glowing mark that had now appeared on Jack's wrist, shaped like a broken crown surrounded by stars. Jack noticed it too. "What is this?" "It's the royal seal," Tharkson said in a low voice. "Only the one chosen as heir receives it." Jack frowned. "You told me that ring thing was just symbolic." "It is. And it's not. That device carries blood rights. You're now recognized by Zarnak systems as a royal. If you land on any core world, their AI systems will open to you." Jack raised his hand, staring at the mark. "You made me space royalty, with no warning?" "I gave you a gift," Tharkson said seriously, "and a curse." Suddenly, a faint pulse came from the back wall of the pod. Tharkson turned his head slowly. "It heard the beacon," he whispered. "It's opening." The panel Jack had seen earlier, where Tharkson had pulled out the royal items, started glowing again, this time brighter. The wall shifted and sank backward, revealing a staircase. Jack stepped closer. "There's a basement in this pod?" "No," Tharkson said. "It's not part of the pod. This is something older." The escape pod was built around it. Jack blinked. "Wait, you mean this pod was hiding something ancient?" Tharkson nodded. "Before exile, I buried this. Technology from before the collapse, from the founders." Together, they walked down the stairs. The chamber below was dark, but lit up the moment Jack entered. Blue light crawled across the walls like water. At the center stood a tall crystal slab. Symbols floated inside it, glowing letters in a language Jack didn't know, but the crystal reacted to him. It pulsed. Warm light reached out from it, like it knew him. Suddenly, the wall behind the crystal came alive. Holographic figures appeared. 10 tall Zarnak leaders wearing ceremonial armor. One of them pointed at Jack. "Royal heir detected. Identity, Jack Harrow. Earth origin, genetic key accepted." Jack stumbled back. Nope, what is this?" "You've been registered," Tharkson said, placing a heavy hand on Jack's shoulder. "This chamber is now linked to your DNA. That means it belongs to you." The crystal shimmered again. A thin beam of light touched Jack's forehead. It didn't hurt, but it filled his mind with images. Old Zarnak cities, their people, their history, their war. Knowledge flooded him. For a moment, he forgot who he was. Then it stopped. Jack gasped and fell to one knee. "What the hell was that?" "You just received the Zarnak archive stream," Tharkson said. "Only rulers are allowed access. Now you carry our history," Jack panted. "It felt like my brain got plugged into a galaxy." "You'll get used to it." Jack slowly stood up. "This is too much. I just wanted to fix ships, not inherit kingdoms." Tharkson placed something cold into Jack's hand, a small cube. "This is a royal access key, if I die. This will prove your place." Jack stared at him. "Don't say if, you're not dying." Tharkson looked away. "You gave me more time, but this wound won't heal. Zarnak blood runs hot, but it runs fast." Jack shook his head. "There must be something." "No," Tharkson interrupted. "Listen, you must understand something. This is no longer about survival. You carry the future of a people who have lost their way." Jack stared at the glowing crystal, still pulsing like a living heart. A strange sense settled over him, not fear, not pride, but responsibility. Hours later, back on the main deck, the ship's console beeped. A signal was incoming. Zarnak patrol. Vessel responding to royal frequency. Prepare for boarding. Jack's eyes widened. "Tharkson, they're coming." The alien warrior nodded slowly. "Yes," he said. and they will expect a prince. The Heir's mark, the patrol ship, looked like a dark bird in space sleek. Quiet and dangerous. Jack watched it from the escape pod window, his heart pounding. It wasn't the size of the ship that scared him. It was the symbol glowing on its wings, 3 silver stars over a curved blade. Tharkson whispered, "That's the Royal Guard. They only come when the bloodline calls them." Jack wiped his hands on his pants. Great, so no pressure. Moments later, the docking clamps hissed and locked. The doors slid open. 5 Zarnak soldiers stepped in, tall, armored in deep blue, faces hidden behind glowing masks. They moved silently, weapons ready but not raised. Then a 6th figure entered. She didn't wear a mask. Her face was sharp and pale blue, with eyes like ice. Her armor shimmered with royal silver lines. "Who holds the signal of the crown?" she asked, voice firm. Tharkson stood straight, but weak. "He does." She turned her gaze to Jack. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, she walked toward him and dropped to one knee. "Royal Heir," she said clearly. "Your mark has been verified. The blood code answers to you." Jack blinked. "Wait, what?" One by one, the other guards kneeled. Jack looked at Tharkson. "You're serious? This is really happening?" Tharkson gave a small nod. "They see what the system sees. To them, you are now part of the bloodline." Jack swallowed hard. "What do I do?" "Say nothing foolish," Tharkson whispered. Aboard the patrol ship, everything looked ancient and beautiful. Silver walls etched with glowing patterns, floating lights that followed silently. The guards gave Jack a wide berth, bowing their heads whenever he passed. He felt like a stranger in his own skin. In a private room, the woman removed her helmet. "I am Captain Vel," she said. "Assigned to protect the bloodline, but I never expected a human." "Yeah, me neither," Jack muttered. She scanned his wrist, where the mark glowed faintly. "It's real," she confirmed. "The Matrix recognizes you as Tharkson's chosen heir." Jack looked down. He's still hurt. He needs medical help. He will receive the best care we have. But royal succession can't wait. Many in the Zarnak Council have been watching for the return of a true heir. Jack frowned. "You mean they knew Tharkson was alive?" "No," she said, "but they feared his return. Many have taken power in his absence. They will see you as a threat." Jack sighed. "Lucky me." Hours later, the ship entered orbit over a glowing planet. Jack stood beside Captain Vel, staring through the observation window. The world was blue and gold, giant rivers like shining veins, and cities floating above clouds. "That's Zarnakar Prime," she said. "Home of the old crown." Jack felt a strange heat on his wrist again. The mark glowed brighter. "It's reacting," he said. Vel nodded. "The planet recognizes you. Your presence activates the royal net." Jack's heart pounded faster. "What happens when we land?" Vel looked him straight in the eyes. "They will kneel, or they will kill." The royal shuttle touched down on a floating platform of glass and light. Dozens of nobles stood waiting, dressed in glowing robes and intricate armor. As Jack stepped out, a deep sound filled the air, like a choir of machines humming in unison. It was the royal acknowledgement tone. Captain Vel stepped back and shouted, "The chosen heir, Jack of Earth, stands before you." Gasps ran through the crowd. Jack could feel their eyes judging, doubting, angry. But then something strange happened. One noble, an older Zarnak with white glowing tattoos, stepped forward. He removed his robe and knelt. "I serve the line of Tharkson," he said, "even if it wears a human face." One by one, more followed. Some out of loyalty, some out of fear. Jack stood still, unsure of what to say. Then he heard a whisper behind him. "You carry more than a title, Jack," Tharkson said weakly from the shuttle. "You carry our future." As the nobles bowed and the sun set over Zarnakar Prime, the mark on Jack's wrist burned with silent fire. He had come as a mechanic. A survivor. Now. He was heir to a throne built by stars. And the galaxy had noticed. Welcome to the throne. Jack had never walked on gold before. The royal bridge to the palace wasn't made of stone or metal. It shimmered like sunlight caught in a glass river. Beneath it flowed the clouds of Zarnakar Prime, glowing with soft blue light. Each step echoed. Each breath felt heavy. Behind him, Captain Vel and 2 honor guards followed silently. Around them, Zarnak nobles stood lined on both sides, silent, watching, whispering, some with curiosity, others with clear hate in their glowing eyes. But all of them bowed when he passed. At the gate, 2 massive doors opened on their own, responding not to touch, but to the royal mark glowing on Jack's wrist. He entered the Hall of Judgment, and for the first time, saw the seat of an empire. It wasn't a throne of jewels or gold. It was a tall, ancient pillar of crystal, pulsing softly like it was alive. Floating lights danced around it, whispering words Jack couldn't understand. He didn't belong here, but the throne accepted him anyway. Inside the palace, nobles filled the round council chamber. They stood in circles, dressed in heavy robes, speaking in fast clicks and growls. They were debating, not about war. Not about peace, but about Jack. One noble slammed his hand on a glowing console. "He is not of Zarnak blood," another hissed, "yet the seal accepts him. He is a threat, a human. He carries the archive. He passed the test." Captain Vel raised her voice. "Enough." The chamber fell quiet as Jack entered. All eyes turned. The nobles stared at him like he was a walking ghost. Jack stepped forward. "I'm not here to play games. I didn't ask for this. But I didn't run away either. I came because Tharkson asked me to. He trusted me, and I'm not going to betray that." The silence lasted several seconds. Then, one noble spoke. "You were born to a world of dirt and metal," she said. "Why should we trust you with ours?" Jack didn't look away. "Because I fought for it, bled for it. Because your people nearly died out, and maybe you need someone with fresh eyes, someone who knows how to rebuild." Another noble chuckled. "And what will you build, human? A kingdom of wires and rust?" Jack smiled slightly. "No, I'll build something better, something that doesn't collapse under its own pride." Later that night, in a quiet chamber with high glass walls, Jack stood alone, staring at the stars. Tharkson lay in a healing pod nearby, floating in a pool of light. Captain Vel stepped beside him. "You surprised them today." "I surprised myself," Jack said. "They expected a fool. You gave them a leader." Jack shook his head. "I'm not a king." "No," she agreed. "But you may be what they need." A small beep echoed in the room. A messenger drone floated in. "Emergency transmission," it said. VHL accepted the signal. A hologram flickered to life. It showed a council room burning. A noble screamed, "We were attacked by our own loyalists to Tharkson's brother. They're rising again." The signal ended. Jack looked at Vel. "Tharkson has a brother?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, exiled decades ago. He believed in pure blood, hated humans, hated peace." Jack's jaw tightened. "Then he'll hate me even more." The next morning, Jack stood at the palace balcony. Below him, thousands of Zarnak citizens filled the skyways and bridges, all looking up at their new heir. Jack raised his hand. He didn't give a grand speech. He said just one thing. "I don't want to rule over you. I want to rise with you." The crowd erupted in sound, not just cheers, but hope. For the first time in decades, they had seen something rare. Not just power, but possibility. The hidden enemy. The palace lights dimmed for only 5 seconds. That was all it took. Jack had just entered the royal dining hall, huge and glowing, with floating platters and a panoramic view of the stars. When the lights blinked, a chill ran down his spine. Guards around the room tensed, but everything seemed normal. Too normal. Captain Vel was the first to speak. "Scan for breach, now." A red light flashed above the door. Unauthorized signal detected in the inner palace. The system announced. Jack stepped back. "Was that ... for me?" Before anyone could answer, an explosion shook the far wall. Smoke poured in, 3 figures. Cloaked in black armor stormed through. They didn't shout. They didn't warn. They aimed plasma blades directly at Jack, but they didn't reach him. Captain Vel moved like lightning, taking down 2 with swift, silent strikes. The third lunged only for Jack to dodge and knock it back with a serving tray. The intruder slammed into a pillar and collapsed. Jack stood still, heart racing. These weren't rebels. They were assassins, and they knew exactly who he was. In the royal medical chamber, the unconscious attacker lay strapped to a glowing table. Jack and Vel stood beside him. A deep scan ran over the body, showing implanted tech. Who sent him? Jack asked. The system responded. Loyalist marker detected. House of Zorkin. Vel's face hardened. Zorkin, Tharkson's brother. Jack's stomach twisted. "So he's alive." "Worse," Vel replied. "He's watching." They pulled the helmet off the attacker. Inside was a young Zarnak male, barely older than Jack. He had a burn scar shaped like a twisted Z, a sign of the old purists. "He was trained to die," Vel said. "They don't speak, don't think, only obey." Jack stepped closer. "Then we need to find who's giving the orders." That night, Jack stood in the royal data vault. Ancient records glowed around him, layered holograms of bloodlines, wars, secrets, each whispering history too heavy to carry. He searched for Zorkin, digging into forbidden files with Vel's override key. The file opened with a cold, robotic voice. Zorkin, former general, charged with war crimes, exiled after leading the burning of Kaltor, presumed dead after the civil purge. A hidden message blinked underneath. Status, unknown. Recent signals match old encryption keys, believed active. Jack rubbed his temples. Why didn't Tharkson tell me he had a brother? Vel was quiet for a moment. Maybe he hoped you'd never need to know. The next morning, Jack stood before the High Council. "I was attacked," he said bluntly. "Inside the palace." Gasps rippled through the chamber. "I know who's behind it. Zorkin is alive. He has followers, and they are inside your walls." One noble shook his head. "That's impossible." Another sneered. "Convenient, coming from a human." Jack slammed his hand on the table. "I didn't come here to play your games. I came to help fix a broken empire. But I can't do that while someone's trying to stab me in the back." Captain Vel stepped forward. "Evidence confirms the assassin was from Zorkin's network." The council fell silent. Jack took a deep breath. "You can argue about tradition all you want, but I'm not going to wait for the next knife." He looked around. "I'm hunting him down, with or without your permission." Later that day, Jack stood in Tharkson's private chamber. The old warrior lay inside the healing pod, eyes closed, breathing slow. Jack sat beside him. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked softly. "You knew he'd come for me." Tharkson's voice was faint. "I hoped ... he would never return. But darkness always finds light." Jack clenched his fists. "Then I'll face him." Tharkson opened one eye. "Don't fight like a king," he whispered. "Fight like a human." Jack nodded. He would. As night fell over Zarnakar Prime, a secret ship launched from the palace hangar. Inside it, Jack stood at the front, armored for war, his wrist mark glowing brighter than ever. He wasn't just a survivor anymore. He wasn't just a friend. He was the target of a hidden enemy. And now, he was going to hunt him back. The human strategy, the ship's engines whispered through the dark. Cloaked from radar and sound. Jack stood in the command bay, wearing a sleek black armored suit Zarnak design, but modified by human hands. No crown, no cape, just function. Captain Vel stood beside him. Most heirs ride to battle with honor guards, not stealth ships. Jack looked ahead. Yeah, most heirs are human. They were heading toward Dravox 4, a shadow world at the edge of Zarnek space, a planet used in the past for exile and forgotten secrets. Intelligence reports showed strange energy spikes and stolen royal signals. It had to be him. Zorkin was hiding there, but Jack wasn't charging in like a hero. He had a plan, one that didn't involve being noble, it involved being clever. 3 hours later, the stealth ship landed in a quiet canyon under a blood-red sky. Jack led a small team, just him, Vel, and 2 drones he rebuilt from broken palace parts. They looked like floating orbs, but were packed with scanners, shields, and old-fashioned explosives. As they moved through the rocky terrain, the scanner beeped. Energy readings up ahead, Vel said. Could be cloaked tech, Jack smiled. Let's give them something new. He opened a small case and pulled out an Earth-made EMP spike, old tech, but deadly effective. Zarnak systems weren't built for that kind of interference. He stuck it into the ground. 3 seconds later, the air shimmered and an entire camouflaged gate appeared ahead of them. Invisible no longer. Jack raised a brow. One thing about ancient empires, they never expect garage-level human tricks. Vel looked at him. Remind me never to play chess with you. Inside the gate was a wide tunnel lit with purple flames. Old symbols lined the walls, Zorkin's personal sigil, cracked and blackened. The deeper they went, the colder it felt. Suddenly, movement. A squad of cloaked figures sprang from both sides, silent. Fast, deadly, but Jack was faster. He snapped his fingers, and the drones activated, shooting blinding light and sonic waves. The attackers screamed. Stumbling, Vel moved like lightning, cutting 2 down. Jack dropped another with a shock baton. Within 30 seconds, the fight was over. The last attacker looked up at Jack. You should have died in that pod, he hissed. Jack leaned in. I did. The guy you're fighting now was born after. He didn't kill the attacker. He let him live to deliver a message. In the center of the base, they found a control chamber built like a throne room, dark, cracked, and abandoned. On the wall, a live transmission played. Zorkin's face appeared older than Tharksin, twisted with scars and hate. He looked directly at Jack. So, the human child comes wearing stolen symbols, Zorkin growled. Jack didn't flinch. You left the throne behind. I didn't steal anything. You're an infection, Zorkin spat. A joke in flesh. You don't deserve the bloodline, Jack smiled. Funny, I don't want the bloodline. I want a future, Zorkin sneered. Then bleed for it. The feed cut. Suddenly, alarms blared. The walls began to shift. The entire mountain base was set to collapse. Vel shouted, It's a trap. Jack grabbed her wrist. Then let's spring it our way. Outside the collapsing base, the human strategy began. Jack had secretly set up an Earth-style decoy relay behind the ship, an old trick from war days. As Zorkin's forces followed the false heat signal, Jack and Vel escaped unnoticed through a lava duct mapped out earlier by one of his drones. By the time Zorkin's army reached the surface, they found only a burning crash site. No body. Vel and Jack were already halfway back to orbit, back aboard the stealth ship. Jack sat quietly, staring at the stars. I know what's coming, he said. Zorkin will launch a full attack on the palace. Vel nodded. He'll think you're dead, but that won't stop him. Jack looked at his wrist, at the glowing mark. I want you to send a message, he said. To who? Vel asked. Jack's voice was calm, focused, dangerous. To every loyal Zarnak general, and every house that ever stood for something better. Vel tilted her head. And the message? Jack stood. Tell them the human is alive. More than a throne, the sky above Zarnakar Prime turned blood red at dawn. Warships appeared like shadows between the clouds, sleek, black, and silent. Zorkin's fleet. They had come not just to conquer, but to erase. Inside the royal palace, alarms screamed. Guards rushed to defensive towers. Nobles locked themselves in golden rooms, panicked. The council had no orders because they believed the heir was dead, but they were wrong. In the center of the great hall, the throne glowed. And Jack Harrow stepped out from the shadows, armor cracked with dust. His eyes sharp and calm. Captain Vell walked beside him, voice clear. The heir lives. Whispers rippled through the chamber. Jack didn't speak to the nobles. He spoke to the walls, to the core of the palace, to the systems deep inside the planet. Activate Protocol 17. The floor pulsed. Ancient gears moved for the first time in centuries. Old defense systems lit up across the world, beams of light rising from deep vaults. The palace transformed. This wasn't just a throne. It was a fortress. Zorkin's ships opened fire. Beams struck the city's upper shields, shaking towers. On the ground, loyal soldiers scrambled. And then something strange happened. Civilians joined, miners, engineers, farmers, people from Earth colonies. Zarnak citizens, refugees. They all picked up weapons and stood side by side, because the human heir hadn't run. He had returned. In the palace command chamber, Jack directed the fight. Redirect the power lines to the east towers. Deploy pulse mines at Gate 3. Drop power shields only when I say. Nobles stared at him, stunned. You fight like a tactician, one said. Not a ruler, Jack replied. A throne is just a chair. I'm here to build a future. At the final hour, Zorkin himself descended. He landed in a spiked warship shaped like a claw. His soldiers pushed forward, but were met by a wall of resistance. Jack's people. Zorkin entered the throne room. Through smoke and fire. Jack stood waiting. The two stared at each other. Bloodline versus chosen. You wear a mark you don't deserve. Zorkin growled. And you destroyed the empire you were born to protect. Jack said. They clashed. Zorkin fought like a beast, sharp, brutal, fast, but Jack fought like something new. He moved with precision, with purpose. He didn't win by strength. He won by understanding. He dodged, redirected, and finally knocked the warblade from Zorkin's hand. Then he stood over him, breathing hard, wrist glowing. I won't kill you, Jack said, but you will face the people, not me, them. Zorkin snarled. You think they'll follow you? Jack turned as the doors opened. Dozens of citizens, guards, nobles, and even old warriors stepped in. They already have, Jack said. Days passed. The war ended. Zorkin was taken to the deep prison on Titan. Reef. Jack refused the crown. Instead, he created something new, a high council made of both Zarnak and human voices. A shared table. A shared future. He didn't wear robes. He wore a simple coat. And every time someone asked why he refused the throne, he smiled and said, I inherited more than power. I inherited the chance to change everything. One evening, as the twin suns set, Jack walked to a quiet balcony. Tharkson stood there, older but stronger now, recovered from his wounds. You did it, the old warrior said. Jack leaned on the railing. Not alone. You gave us something we lost, Tharkson whispered. Hope. Jack looked out over the city. Lights danced across the sky. Ships flew together, human and Zarnak. He smiled. I didn't come to be king, he said. I came to be a friend.